Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Bobo Bun So Vintage Life. I'm having to try and remember the title. So lovely to have you back if you're returning. I've been loving the comments and the interaction I've been getting with you all, so I'm really glad you're enjoying what I'm doing. I had a request to focus more on the pink lace dress that I'd used in last week's vlogs and picture. So you can see it here behind me. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, the process of creating this dress. So there's a lot of thoughts and ideas that went into this one, so hopefully you will be interested. And if the video is shaking, it's because I keep knocking the table, so my apologies. Need to be more professional. So I shall be back in a moment. So we're going to go back to 2019, before all of this stuff. So I mean, what are we in 22 now? So yeah, about 3 years ago almost, isn't it? So in August of 2019, I went to visit the Dior exhibition at the V&A with a very good friend of mine. We had an absolutely fabulous day. We dressed up. She wore a dress I had already made for her. I wore something in a beautiful vintage fabric that I'd got. Yes, we felt absolutely gorgeous, and popped in to see the Mary Quant as well. But Dior, I almost wish that I had gone back in and had another good look round, but the queues were so long. I'd give anything to look at it again right now, today. It was just breathtaking. So if you got to see that exhibition, you two were very lucky. It was just amazing. My only criticism with it was when we saw a lot of the 1950s evening gowns, that Christian Dior actually designed. They were behind glass, which, I can understand that, to preserve them, but they were on 2 layers, so you could see the underskirts of the ones up top, which was lovely to see all the structure underneath, but I wanted to also be able to look close at the details of them. That was my only criticism, because I just wanted that absolute feast for the eyes. But there were so many design details, took tons of photos, of which I will pop some up for you as we go along, that really inspired me. Yeah, so really lovely. I remember being told off by a lady in the courtyard afterwards as well. She was a bit bonkers. She suddenly came over and had a go. So that was a bit of a strange part of the day. But we drank lots of Prosecco and went for a lovely evening meal. And that was all forgotten. So it was a marvellous day. And that year I decided I was going to get myself out there more into the sewing community. So I'd started to reach out and I'd set up some sewing weekenders that I was going to do around the country. They were booked for the following year, so that was really exciting, knowing I was going to different places. I booked tickets to go to SoCam that Ginger Thread Girl had organised. I think it was the 2nd year of SoCam, and Cambridge being fairly near to me, I thought, well, that'd be great to go and meet some other sewists. So thrilled to get tickets, and I went with a local friend of mine, and at that I met a lovely lady called Roxy, who was setting up an event called Cam's Frock Tales, and I was in 2 minds. I thought, well, should I go? Because I'm confident, but when it's sort of going to things, meeting new people, and sometimes just going on your own, and however old you are, you still feel like there's a clique, there's a gang, and you might turn up feeling a bit like Billy No Mates, and either I do the usual thing of being overconfident and think, right, just jump in and talk to people, which can immediately make people think, oh, who the heck's this, we're having a nice time with our friends, clear off. Or you can be ignored, or it can all go all right, I don't know. Anyway, overthinking it. So I think whatever age you are, social situations can feel a bit strange sometimes, but I decided I was just going to go with it. I really wanted to do this. I'd seen things like the Dressmakers Ball and all the other lovely events where dressmakers came together to celebrate what they'd made and dress up and just have fun. So I thought, no, I'm going to go. So I got tickets for Cam's Frock Tales. So I started in the new year planning what I was going to make. And in the February, and this was literally like weeks before we had our first lockdown and we knew COVID wasn't a rumour, it's a real thing, I had some classes that I was teaching, I had to cancel them at the last minute, so I knew I could go to the Sew Over 50 meetup, and I was so excited about that. There's lots of people I'd spoken to online or wanted to just see, so I went to, I'm trying to think what it was. I think it was the Village Haberdashery in Hampstead. I'll put a link up. My memory, I can't remember exactly where it was. So I know it was Hampstead. So my darling man drove me down to that, and yeah, I had a lovely afternoon. It was just fabulous meeting up with people. Little did we know that would be the last social sewing event for quite some time, just as I decided to be brave and go to them. Typical her. So hopefully I will gather that energy and, you know, connect again in the future. Right, so we come on, you know, go back when we still thought Cam's Frocktails was going to go ahead, because that was going to happen in March. And I remember my diary in March, we had so many events like theatre and the Frocktails and cinema trips and going away. And they were just constantly drawing lines through things as they got cancelled, which is understandable. But yeah, at the time, I didn't know I wasn't going to be wearing my dress. Lots of ideas in my head. I was thinking, should I go out of my usual style, because I love the Belle Epoque style, and all the Vionnet dresses, you know, the overlay. I think I was pretty much drawn to, I knew I wanted lace overlaid, you know, a colour pop. I think, you know, the Dior was really drawing me in, the inspiration from the Dior exhibition. For a moment I just thought, oh, what am I saying, Vionnet? That's my brain, because I'm already thinking for the bias cut Vionnet, forget that with Belle Epoque. I'm thinking Paul Poiret. You know, Madame Vionnet, you know, with the 30s bias cut dresses. I was also thinking of that for a while, but I thought, no, it's the 1950s that I've got to go for, you know, the just below the knee tea dress or cocktail dress. So I started to think along those lines, looking through one of my Gertie books, the Gertie's Ultimate Dress Book, this green dress, because I absolutely love greens and blues. So I was thinking, should I go for the green, no, but with pink, you know, but bringing lace in. And it turns out I did use the skirt in this picture here. In the end, I decided I wanted, you know, something that's got the high neck, a bit more formal with the scoop back, you know, so you've got a bit more of a sexy evening look, you know, as you turn around. And I then came across an old Burda, vintage Burda magazine I had for a few years, and on the front cover it's the most gorgeous pink, I can never say it, Guipure, trying to pout my lips to say the word, Guipure Lace. Always loved it. And can you believe, when I googled it, I found someone selling this exact lace all those years later after initially seeing this picture and storing it away. So excited. So like £24 a metre. It wasn't cheap, but I knew this has got to be the one. So I waited till I'd got some money behind me so I could buy, because I needed, I think it was about 6 or 7 metres of this lace. Then I'd obviously got to buy all the bits and bobs to go with it. But this was going to be worth it. This was an exciting project. So I got my Guipure Lace. I knew I was going to do the boatneck bodice from the Jiffy book, the Gertie Jiffy book. I knew I was going to use the controlled box pleat skirt. And then I'd got to decide, you know, how I was going to design all of this. Now, I'd made the bodice before, but I still wasn't happy with the fit. So I went back to the drawing board and I really, really refined it. It took me 7 twirls to get the bodice how I wanted it to be fitted. You know, tons and tons of like really quite fussy tweaking, but I got there. So got my twirl. So then I went and found the blue underlay, and I used a blue chiffon crepe that I wanted just to pop the colour through. So if you look at the dress here, you can see it's quite dark, because if the, well, hopefully this will show in the camera, the pink's very see-through, and then you've got the blue, and I've used that for the cummerbund on there. So yeah, I got all my bits and bobs together. And then as I would be driving, I'd be problem solving. How am I actually going to construct this, you know, for the seams to work, for the lace, you know, to show away, because I knew I wanted to do lace cutaway edges. trying to think what the technique is called. I'll be able to tell you in a minute when I look in the book. But I knew I'd be trying some new techniques. I'd never underlined something before. I'd not done the cutaway lace before. So I wanted the excitement of challenging myself as well with new techniques. So I'd be driving along thinking, oh, well, that bit would work with that. And then if I do this, blah, blah, blah. And that sort of started the phrase that my love always says to me when I leave the house now. When you're driving, concentrate on the driving. Don't think about anything else, please concentrate on the driving, because I do tend to drive a lot autopilot and sometimes can end up where I don't want to be, you know, a place where I would drive a lot of times to, and I'd be on autopilot going there and I'd realise I was in the wrong place, so not good. But that's where my head would be at with the piece of driving. So I'm waffling, aren't I? Yeah, I drew pictures of the design. I wrote lots of notes out, you know, went through all my ideas. So I'd got those, you know, working out and getting, you know, all the ideas. I'm actually going to show you the books rather than putting photos from them, because it's interesting to show you the books I went to for my reference. As I knew that I wanted this full skirt, I wanted it to stand out. So I was going to put horsehair braid in the underskirt with petticoats, but I also wanted to get that fuller part on the top. So I'll show you the little technique that I got for that. And I needed to know what to do with the lace. So here we go, I've marked these pages. So this fabulous book, it's just a marvellous book, and I'm so lucky to get this at like a jumble sale. So, you know, local jumble sale, so I was absolutely chuffed. So working with lace, I'm just finding there's so many different techniques of working with lace, and what I wanted to do was like a applique. So I was going to put the lace so you'd get the scalloped edges. I don't know if you'll be able to see this in here at the moment. If I lift it up, you get the scalloped edges. I will put some pictures that are closer up. So I would be sewing some of the motifs around the edge and then cutting the lace away underneath, so that I would get that lovely shape. So yeah, I referenced all the techniques in this book on how to do that. So I actually had to cut out from the dress, I don't know if you can see, hopefully you can, 136 of these flowers that I cut out, these ones here. And then I hand sewed them, I pinned them all on after thread tracing where I wanted them to be, and then I pinned them all on, and then I hand sewed 135 around the neck, around the cuffs of the hems, and around the bottom of the skirt. Absolutely took me nights and nights of work, but was worth it. That's the beauty. I mean, this is really a real couture gown that I've made. The other thing I wanted to put in, like I said, I used the horsehair to get the skirt to stand out, but I also wanted to have the fullness at the hips, you know, trying to give the impression I've got a smaller waist than I have. So I went to this marvellous book. It's called Making Vintage 1950s Clothes. So you have to scale up the patterns. So I wanted to put in a hip ruffle. So I will take other pictures from this book to show you the hip ruffle and, you know, the resources that the lady that's designed the book got that hip ruffle from. So again, using proper techniques. I also threw within my dress, because I used French seams in part, but I wanted the skirt to be loose, so I've only attached down the pleats onto the blue and underlined. I had to hem the inside top and the sleeves away because I didn't want the blue showing where I put my overlay. I've also got a waist stay in there because this is a very, very heavy dress, so I've also put a waist stay in. Now I love stays. That's something I think I'm going to talk about in my Patreon, all the stays, because I've got lots of ideas what to say for that. But yeah, a waist stay is a fabulous technique, so you might want to look that up. I'm not going to say any more on that. So I'm just looking at my notes across here because I just want to make sure I've told you everything. So I've said the flowers and the things. Oh yes, and I also wanted to say to you, I think I must have done my partner's head, and thank God he loves me, such a generous, gorgeous man. I knew I wanted some blue suede shoes to go with my dress, you know, to go with the blue accents. I was going to make a manteau, you know, a lovely overcoat in blue as well to go with this, but never got around to that as the event didn't happen. But I'm an absolute lover of Rocket Originals shoes. They're absolutely fabulous vintage shoes. So they create their shoes from original vintage designs or shoes that they come across. Now, they haven't got any blue suede in at the time. Searching on eBay, I found a pair I absolutely loved, and they were in America. Now, I've never bought from America because I just thought, oh God, shipping and all that is going to cost a fortune. Well, it did cost a fortune. So these are the shoes. If you can see the shoes here, I hold one up. Absolutely beautiful, and they're cut away on the side. It's absolutely lovely. And I'm a size 8, so it's not always easy to find size 8 shoes. So I found these in America, and I think they were about £100. Rocket Originals sell for around that sort of price, sometimes a little bit more anyway. So that was fine, but obviously then you got to pay the postage on top. So I think the postage was going to be about £50. So my love bought me these shoes. He paid £150 for these shoes, and the seller had never sent something to England either. So yeah, we were getting a bit like we didn't really know what we were doing. It turns out I ended up paying about another £60 for these shoes with a customs charge, where if she'd have put on the box that she'd sold them for a lesser price, which neither of us knew, so I'm not blaming her, then I wouldn't have paid so much at customs. So yeah, they ended up being a very expensive pair of shoes to an event that I never went for, and he's never ever said a word. But I've never worn those shoes since, because obviously the last few years, where have we really gone? And now I keep thinking, however beautiful the colour is, if I just dyed them black, I'd actually get more wear out of them, and that just sounds so terrible. So I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. So I'm just thinking, have I told you everything about this dress? I think I have, and then I'm going to talk you through you know, and show you this up close. So that'll be a separate little video that I'll add on. I'm meant to be all professional and not say this is how I'll be doing it, but I'm not, so that's what I'm going to do. So this is the view down my whole dress. I've got the pink netted petticoat underneath, so you see the scalloped bottom of the skirt there, and I'll zoom in so you can see everything around the lovely neckline and all the blue coming through. And they're the lovely sleeves, and then spinning it round so you see the scooped back, slowly doing that on Foxy Lady, and then I'll pan down so that you can see the whole dress again here with the blue cummerbund coming around at the back. So then that's the lightness of the skirt and how see-through that pink is. And then that's the horsehair braid that I added, and my pink net petticoat underneath to give it a bit of weight. I haven't got the ruffle, hip ruffle underneath, but that's all the skirt, and such lovely movement in there below those pleats. And then the cummerbund, I sort of made that up myself really. Just done that up with 2 poppers, so it's interesting trying to undo that with one hand while I'm holding my camera. So hopefully get that undone, and then I can show you the side opening. So I've got a concealed zip in the side, invisible zip. There's quite a lot of bulky layers to work through, so get that down, and then that will reveal the waist stay that I've got underneath. If I can get into that shonky video bit. Yeah, and then it brings in to show you the waist stay. So I hope you've enjoyed my little chat through my creation of my frocktails that wasn't to be dress, but I absolutely adored the process. I learned so much, so I don't regret making it, and hopefully I don't put on so much weight that I don't fit into it again, and I will be able to wear it somewhere or other. Yeah, goodness knows where, or I'll just have to be a bridesmaid for somebody, I think, won't I? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, please add any comments about what you thought or anything that you might like to know more about. That would be lovely. You know, I'll answer. Please subscribe. You know, there's a little bell you can hit if you want to be notified when I post. You know, I try and post regularly on a Thursday, so you'll know I'll be coming up. I have my Boba and the Bog on a Tuesday and YouTube on a Thursday, so that will be me. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time with some more sewing related chit chat. So goodbye for now.